With God's grace, we can see clearly how things work out for our own benefit and for the benefit of others. St. Paul begins his first letter to Timothy by admitting that he had been misinformed and acted according to that misinformation when he persecuted the early Christian communities. God helped Paul to clearly see his sinful ways. God then appointed him to bring the good news of Jesus Christ to others, even though it would mean suffering for Paul. Paul relates to us how he practiced a false vision of faith, filled with misconceptions. In his desire to be righteous, he had persecuted those who were following the truth, who is Jesus. By the grace of God, Paul was given the opportunity to see the error of his ways. Jesus himself appeared to Paul on the road to Damascus. After his period of blindness on the road to Damascus, Paul not only came to the truth and the light, but he also was willing to share this revelation to whomever he met. He had been such an enemy of the truth, and yet he was commissioned by Jesus to preach the compassion and forgiveness of God to others. It was this personal experience of him receiving pardon and peace from Jesus that made him a fitting messenger of God's mercy to others. Today is the memorial of Our Lady of Sorrows. This memorial follows the exaltation of the cross, which was yesterday. In our Gospel from John, Jesus hangs on his cross, suffering and dying. He is aware of the presence of his mother and the beloved disciple. He entrusts the care of his mother to his disciple and the care of his disciple to his mother. Part of the salvific plan is that we are responsible for the continued care of others. It is very common for people to have vision problems. And many times in our lives, we fail to see what God would have us see. Paul was very energetic in his persecution of those whom he believed to be misguided. Paul was not seeing with the eyes of God, but with his own self-righteous eyes. Paul had to be struck blind so that he could see the vision which God wanted him to see. After his sight was restored, physically and spiritually, he was able to see the divine vision, or what we would call the divine plan, much better. This was a source of salvation not only for himself, but for all of those to whom he would minister to. He would be an ideal witness to God's forgiveness, to God's love, to God's healing, since he had been blind, and now he sees. As we celebrate the memorial of Our Lady of Sorrows, we see in our gospel how Mary suffered because of the relationship with her son, Jesus. We see how she was willing to bear the pain and agony of having her heart pierced in order to bring more people to the love of God. We are reminded that Mary stood at the foot of the cross, compassionately suffering for her son. In the Sabbat Mater sequence, which we just sang, we pray that we might be touched in a similar way as we reflect on the suffering and death of Jesus. We can look to Mary and to see how this sinless woman was willing to suffer so much emotional pain as she saw her beloved son suffer so much at the hands of those who did not see Jesus for who he is, but with such vengeance, they hated him. She desires us to be drawn ever closer to her son, so we will one day be united with her in giving praise to God in the glory of heaven for all eternity. With joy, we can pray the words in today's psalm. You are my inheritance, O Lord.